Okay, so the second component of SEO we're going to talk about in this course is brand awareness. Now, I don't know that any SEO pros would really argue that brand awareness plays a big role in search rankings, but the mechanism of its influence on search is probably indirect. So think about it like this. How would a search engine measure brand awareness? I mean, hell, people have a hard time measuring brand awareness. It's not really something we can just look up in Google Analytics, right? It's pretty difficult to know how many people are aware that our brand exists. So how on earth could a search engine figure this out? Well, the answer is they can't measure it directly, but we do know that brand awareness and brand affinity, they do have a pretty significant impact on people's behavior. And this is why brand names always command a premium in the supermarket. And just like a brand has an impact offline, it also has an impact online in that it leads to different behavior. It also typically leads to more backlinks. Bigger brands typically have more backlinks for a variety of reasons. They've been around longer, they're more well-known, all kinds of reasons. And we're talking totally natural backlinks too, not just backlinks built to try to game the rankings. And so that change in behavior and those backlinks and everything else that might go along with a brand, those things are measurable. Think about it like this. Remember that user behavior signal we talked about earlier called click-through rate? To quickly recap what that is, click-through rate was the percentage of people who click through to your site versus your competitors' sites in the search results. Well, there's no doubt that if you see two brands in the search results, one is a brand you recognize and one is not, you're just going to be a little bit more likely to click on the brand that you recognize. And other websites are going to be just a little bit more likely to link to that recognized brand. And people online will be just a little bit more likely to mention that recognized brand on their site. And those are things that Google can measure. So take this drone company as an example. This company, DJI, they make those cool remote control aerial drones you've no doubt heard about. By the way, I don't know about you, but I have been trying to find a reason to buy one of these things forever. I just have absolutely zero use for it, but I want one so bad. So anyway, this company DJI, they make drones. So let's say this company did no SEO at all, zero. What happens? Do they just not rank in Google at all? Well, remember what we talked about in the chapter on how search engines work? We learned that a search engine's goal is just to give you the best answer to whatever you're searching for as quickly as possible. So let's say this drone company, DJI, never did any SEO at all, but they're the most well-known, in-demand drone company on the planet. Does it do Google any good to completely ignore that site just because they haven't spent time on SEO? No, of course not. Google wants to get that site to the top of search regardless of whether they put in time on SEO or not, because they are the industry leader. And how weird would it be if the majority of people searching for drones were looking for DJI drones, but Google was ranking them back on page 10? That would not serve Google's interests at all. So if Google wants to improve search results in a case like this, what do? Well, one thing they could do is watch for those keyword plus brand searches that we talked about in the previous video. So in this case, there are probably a lot of people searching DJI drones. That makes sense, right? You could imagine yourself searching that term if you wanted to visit the DJI website and check out their drones. So that's a really simple, super clear signal to Google that if more people search DJI plus drones or DJI plus other terms related to drones, then Google can see that. And if you're the biggest drone company, people are probably also searching things like DJI drone reviews. That's really hard to say, DJI, then drones, by the way. And DJI drone how-to videos and articles and all kinds of stuff related to DJI and drones. And so what happens is that site is likely going to see its rankings improve quite a bit for all those related keywords. Google's going to float that site up to the top almost regardless of what they do with SEO. Outside of just some crippling technical issues, this site is probably going to rank on page 1 for drones and keywords related to drones, whether they spend any time on SEO or not, because that is in Google's best interest. Now, I used this example because DJI is one of the clear industry leaders in this space by a long shot. It's not always this simple. Not all of you are going to be marketing brands that are the number 1 or number 2 companies in their space. And I do want to be clear, DJI would still benefit probably quite a bit from SEO. Even the top brands in a space can usually improve by understanding what we teach in this course. Case in point, DJI is only ranked number 5 in Google if you search drones, so still on the first page, but they could easily be number 1. if they had some content to better meet the intent of that search, easily they could be number one. And we'll talk about how they could do that later on in this course. But this is also why there's so much room for you to win in search, because even the biggest companies just aren't taking advantage of all the opportunities out there. So that's the power brand awareness can have on search. And those are a couple examples of the mechanisms by which brand awareness can influence search rankings. That is through increased click-through rate on the well-known brands' search results, and through stuff like this, people searching the brand name plus other category keywords. So how much of an impact does brand awareness have? Well, it's pretty huge. It especially stands out for local or other relatively low volume search queries. So if we're talking about keywords that don't have a ton of competition and a ton of volume, you may have seen cases where companies with really outdated sites, minimal effort on SEO, were just ranking at the top of Google, sort of inexplicably. And that's kind of what happens here. The Cincinnati roofer was ranking for years for Cincinnati roofers. Nobody could unseat these guys. And let's just stop and say, I apologize if you're with Ray St. Clair. I'm not trying to dog on the website, but this does show the power of brand awareness. For a while, these guys were one of the most well-known companies in Cincinnati. They advertised all the time. I've known their name as far back as I can remember, just from all the radio advertising and TV that they did. And this site ranked number one in Google forever. Now, it's since got booted by other roofing companies at the top of Google with better on-site experiences, but they're still on page one. And the point is that a local search like this, a local keyword like Cincinnati roofers, just doesn't have a ton of competition, and there just aren't that many searches every month. So Google defaults to using the data it could see, and likely what was propping up this site in the rankings for so many years was just purely brand awareness and how that influenced user behavior. This is really common for local keywords or keywords with not a lot of search volume. You may have actually seen things like this, sites ranking at the top that just didn't really make a whole lot of sense. This is often just brand awareness having an influence. Okay, so that's brand awareness. That wraps it up for this lesson. Let's check out the next one.